Have you ever felt that your priorities quietly begin to change as the years pass by? Things that once seemed vital, like being surrounded by a wide circle of friends, might start to lose their importance. And here's something that may sound surprising at first. After the age of 70, you might not actually need friends in the way you once did. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't about isolation or loneliness. It's about stepping into a new chapter of life where your energy, time, and emotional space are finally yours to protect. It's about living life on your own terms, unapologetically, peacefully, and with clarity. In this journey, we'll explore 6 powerful reasons why friendships may no longer serve the same purpose they once did. You'll see how your mindset shifts, your emotional well-being strengthens, and your sense of freedom deepens when you stop holding on to relationships that no longer add real value to your life. Let's begin. 1. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone anymore. One of the most liberating truths about getting older is this: you've outgrown the need for validation. In your youth, friendships often felt like arenas for approval, where you had to prove you belonged, impress others, or maintain a certain image. Remember those times? Always trying to fit in, to be accepted, to be seen. Whether it was at work events, weekend gatherings, or neighborhood chats, there was always this invisible pressure to present your best self, to be liked, admired, included. But now, you've earned your peace, you've built your legacy, you've experienced enough to know that your worth doesn't depend on how others see you. Take a moment to think about that. There's no need to chase friendships to feel important. No need to keep up appearances to feel valued. You're no longer the person who needs someone else's permission to feel complete. You're living proof that the richest validation is the one that comes from within. Let's consider Harold, a man in his early 70s. He spent decades climbing the corporate ladder, always surrounded by coworkers, associates, and so-called friends. When he retired, most of them disappeared. At first, Harold tried to stay in touch. He sent messages, made calls, but deep down, he knew those connections were never built on anything real. They were based on convenience, and that realization was freeing. Harold stopped trying to maintain empty friendships. Instead, he turned inward. He revisited old hobbies, explored nature, wrote down thoughts he never had time to express, and, most importantly, he stopped caring about impressing people. Without the constant noise of superficial relationships, Harold finally felt calm, centered, and authentic. That's the beauty of this stage of life. You get to stop performing. You get to just be. You don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. You don't have to seek approval from people who never truly understood you. The only approval that matters is your own, and that changes everything. 2. Peace becomes more valuable than socializing. As you grow older, a subtle but profound shift occurs. The need for peace begins to outweigh the desire for socializing. In your younger days, the buzz of company, conversation, and busy schedules may have felt energizing. But with time, quiet becomes sacred. Not the kind of quiet that's empty, but the kind that's full of stillness, reflection, and calm. A kind of silence that wraps around you and says, "You're safe. You don't have to rush anymore." Friendships, even good ones, come with obligations. There are calls to return, invitations to accept, expectations to meet. And slowly, those things can start to feel like burdens. It's not that connection is bad, but the cost of maintaining constant social contact can begin to feel heavier than the reward. Take Margaret, for example. At 74, her calendar used to be packed. Lunches, book clubs, holiday events. But over time, she began to feel more drained than delighted. The conversations became repetitive. Some friends just wanted to vent. Others gossiped more than they listened. It all began to feel more like routine than joy. So one day, Margaret stopped trying. She allowed herself to say no. She no longer felt guilty for ignoring a text or skipping a dinner. Instead, she embraced the gentle rhythm of her own presence. Long walks, morning tea on the porch, pages of a good book read slowly and without interruption. She didn't feel lonely. She felt peaceful. And that's the shift. Choosing serenity over social obligation. Calm over chaos. It's a choice that many people don't even realize is available to them until they stop and look inward. If you've ever felt guilty for stepping back, let this remind you. You're not pulling away from life. You're leaning into a new kind of richness. One that doesn't need noise to be full. One that doesn't need a crowd to feel complete. 3. Fewer friendships mean fewer disappointments. One of the hardest truths we come to accept as we grow older is this. Not everyone you called a friend was truly there for you. By now, you've probably experienced it. Friends who slowly drifted away, people who vanished when you needed them most, conversations that used to be meaningful, now reduced to silence, or worse, indifference. And that's why having fewer friendships can be a blessing in disguise. Because with every friendship comes expectation. The expectation to stay in touch, to be available, to support, to listen. But what happens when those expectations aren't met? You're left feeling disappointed, unappreciated, and sometimes even hurt. Take William, for instance. He's 78 now, and he's seen it all. Friendships that faded, others that collapsed under the weight of one-sided effort. He realized that, more often than not, he was the one calling, the one checking in, the one giving his time and energy. And slowly, those friendships drained him. At first, it stung. He wondered what went wrong, why the people he stood by didn't do the same in return. But eventually, he stopped blaming himself and started honoring his own peace. That's the real shift. When you release the pressure to maintain every relationship, you also let go of the pain that comes with being let down. You stop waiting for a call that never comes. You stop giving energy to people who don't give it back. And no, that doesn't mean isolating yourself. It simply means choosing depth over numbers. You don't need a crowd. You need a few genuine connections, or even just the one you have with yourself. That's how you protect your heart in this stage of life, by no longer accepting less than what you deserve. 4. Your time becomes more precious than ever. When you're young, time feels endless. You think there will always be more of it. More chances to meet people, more weekends to catch up, more years to figure things out. But something shifts after 70. You begin to realize that time is your most sacred possession. Every morning is a gift. Every hour is a treasure. And with that awareness comes a deep change in how you spend your days. Friendships, while beautiful, take time. Phone calls, visits, messages, check-ins. These things can be lovely, but they can also consume hours that you could be spending doing what brings you peace and joy. Think about it. How many times have you gone to a gathering or taken a call you didn't really want, just to keep up appearances? How many days have slipped away in conversations that didn't nourish your soul? You don't need to give your time away so freely anymore. You've earned the right to be selective. Now is the time to pour your energy into the things that truly make you feel alive. Whether that's gardening, learning something new, listening to music, or simply sitting in silence with a cup of tea and your own thoughts. You don't owe your time to anyone. You don't need to explain why you'd rather be alone than on another phone call. This is your life, your clock, your rhythm. And once you start protecting your time, you'll find something extraordinary. Your days feel richer, your heart feels lighter, and life becomes not just something to manage, but something to truly enjoy. 5. True companionship comes from within. One of the greatest myths about aging is that happiness depends on being surrounded by people. We're taught that having a large group of friends is the key to fulfillment, that being alone means being incomplete. But the truth, real companionship, the kind that brings deep joy, starts with the relationship you have with yourself. By the time you reach 70, you've lived through decades of lessons. You've faced storms and celebrated victories. You've grown, evolved, and discovered who you really are. And in that journey, you've gained something priceless: self-understanding. That awareness becomes your greatest companion. Take Eleanor as an example. At 76, she once believed she needed people around her to feel whole. Her days were full of phone calls, lunch dates, group chats, but she often felt strangely empty. Despite all the activity, she didn't feel seen or truly connected. One day, she stopped chasing social noise and started listening to her inner voice. She went for walks alone, sat in cafes with a good book, spent evenings in quiet reflection. And to her surprise, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. Because real companionship isn't measured by how many people are around you. It's about how comfortable you are in your own presence. When you enjoy your own company, you stop needing others to distract you. You stop relying on constant interaction to feel alive. And here's the beautiful twist. When you find peace within yourself, the right people naturally come into your life. They don't require you to perform or impress. They respect your space, understand your silence, and bring calm, not pressure. So if you've ever worried that letting go of friendships would leave you feeling alone, remember this: the best company you'll ever have is already with you. You just need to welcome it. 6. Letting go opens the door to a more fulfilling life. There's something incredibly powerful about learning to let go. Letting go of friendships that no longer bring joy, letting go of the pressure to stay socially active, letting go of the belief that being alone means being lonely. When you release those old expectations, you make space for something better. A life that is simpler, calmer, and much more aligned with who you are today. Many people hold on to relationships out of routine. They keep attending gatherings, returning calls, or engaging in small talk, simply because it's what they've always done. But ask yourself this: what if you didn't have to? What if you gave yourself full permission to stop investing energy in what no longer feeds your soul? That's exactly what James did. He's in his late 70s and had always believed that staying socially busy was essential to aging well. But over time, he realized he wasn't enjoying it anymore. His conversations felt empty. His schedule felt heavy. So he stepped back. He focused on his health. He spent time outside. He started painting again, just like he used to when he was young. He didn't withdraw from life. He simply began living it on his own terms. And something magical happened. He felt lighter, freer, more himself than he had in decades. That's the secret about letting go. It's not about shutting people out. It's about welcoming your own truth in. You start noticing the small joys, a quiet morning, a slow walk, a moment of gratitude. You begin to measure fulfillment, not by how many people call you, but by how deeply you connect with yourself and your purpose. So, if you've ever felt guilt for stepping away from old friendships, release it. You're not abandoning people. You're honoring your life. You're creating space for peace, and peace is the foundation of a truly meaningful life. Final thoughts. As we bring this message to a close, let's reflect on what this really means. Saying you don't need friends after 70 isn't about becoming isolated. It's about becoming free. Free from outdated obligations. Free from the pressure to please. Free to live your life in a way that feels right for you. You've earned this freedom, whether it's by stepping away from draining friendships, embracing solitude, or finally putting your own joy first. Every decision you make now can be rooted in self-respect. You've lived long enough to know what matters and what doesn't. And if certain relationships no longer feel aligned with your heart, it's okay to release them, because sometimes letting go is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. So tell me, which of these reasons spoke to your heart the most? Maybe you've already started simplifying your social life. Maybe you're learning to love your own company. Or maybe this video helped you see your journey in a whole new light. If it did, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and share one thing you've taken from this message and how you'll carry it forward. And if this content brought value to your day, please consider liking, subscribing, and turning on notifications. Your support helps us continue creating messages that inspire, comfort, and uplift. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, the most beautiful relationship you'll ever have is the one you build with your own soul.